Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here, this time reviewing our new Superman DC Rebirth issue number 5. Now, as you know, New Superman is meant to feature a story where the Chinese try to create their own superheroes, and the cover mainly has basically Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman basically being attacked by Starlos. And the story starts off how tourists think there's a big attraction happening until they end up meeting the Freedom Fighters of China, which one of their members, Human Firecracker, says, "Then fight, my fellow Freedom Fighters of China. Fight for truth, justice, and democracy." And we're shown how Keenan finds out that his father is the Flying General, and he mainly has him have a tea with him and explains why he became a superhero. Many years ago, him and his brother were mainly university students, not much as older as Keenan, until Keenan's dad becomes smitten by Keenan's mum, and this is where he joins the protests after hearing what she had to say, and her basically saying, "I just spoke with your brother. If you joined us because you think you have a chance with me." And this is where you can tell they start to form a relationship, and eventually the protests do get out of hand. And this is where Keenan and his mum, Keenan's dad and their mum mainly fall in love. And this is where, after she becomes pregnant, they mainly settle down and start a family. And 12 years later, mainly gets an email, finds out it's from when the Justice League first appeared. And later on, Keenan's mum becomes a new hero, known as Liberty's Goddess, obviously meant to be the first version of Uncle Sam. And Keenan's dad points out that his wife's plane was blown up, but turns out there was more truths about it, and went to the Freedom Fighters of China, gathering up what members they had to become their own team. So basically he wants his son to join him because he's been lied to by the Ministry of Self-Reliance, and that they were the ones responsible for his mum's death. And this is where you can tell Keenan starts to question it, but still joins him. And this is where he flies off with him. And this is where you can kind of tell they start to figure out that Keenan's dad is Flying General by checking that there were only 2 people in the building. So of course they fly to where the action is, get attacked by the Chinese version of Dollman, and escape when the plane explodes. So of course General of Iron talks to Dr. Omen, points out the failures of her little Justice League project, and the potential of what Starlo's clones will have and the damages it can do, and pointing out now it's in the hands of supervillains, and saying that him and his team are going to handle this because of the damage that happens. So of course Keenan ends up saying, "Run, before I put this car on your head." So of course this is where brother and brother meet, and this is where Keenan gets to meet his uncle, who's now known as Human Firecracker. So of course ends up meeting the Batman and Superman, Batman and Wonder Woman, and this is where he tries to talk them down, and this is where we realise that Human Firecracker starts to take things way too far by putting Starlos on them and using the Prime One as his control. And this is where he tries to basically axe Batman and Wonder Woman off, and this is where Keenan's dad starts to realise he's going too far, and even Superman as well, as he doesn't want to lose his first real friends. And this is where the other Freedom Fighters join in with Human Firecracker without realising this may go too far. So of course, he ends up losing his powers and gets blasted into the ocean and ends up drowning, which ends up with Flying General realizing that his brother took things way too far. And of course, Dr. Omen sees the damage that's happened, and Keenan's dad shows up with Keenan to sort of say, "Help my son." And of course, this is him now realizing that he took his crusade way too far. And we're shown at the airport, where there's now been a hijacking. And we see how Dr. Omen's assistant helps him regain his powers to little to no avail, but realizes that he can only access them on an emotional level. And this is where Dr. Omen and Flying General end up getting into an argument. And there is more truth about the two later on in the issues. So of course he wants to help him stop the freedom fighters, as he knows their weaponry as he designed them. So she puts a device on him. If he acts out of line, she'll explode him. And this is where father and son end up going to stop the hijacking. And yeah, this is the story. So issue 5 is sort of okay. I think if they had it that Keenan secretly worked with the freedom fighters to take them out when they weren't looking, and you could have even had the other freedom fighters realize that maybe Keenan's uncle is going too far. It just seems like they're okay with this. In other words, this story deserves a thumbs in the middle. Sort of okay, sort of alright, but really still a good run. Comic Reviewer here, signing out.